Hey folks, welcome back. Well, we're continuing on here with what we've been calling the Jurassic Park truck. You can go back to our first video and we talk about what this thing does, because it's sort of unique. Anyways, but today is doing the engine timing. We got this 6.2 liter V8 gas, and so we're gonna get all the timing components back on it and everything. So that's what I'm bringing you along with here. All right, to start out with, all of your rocker arms need to be off, and that will allow you to these, if you don't, they'll settle away from with the pressure of the valve and all that kind of stuff. I remember when I took one of the timing chains loose or whatever, this side from where it was, it went like that, and so trying to get it back in there, and it, as per the manual, it even tells you to have them off. And then they've got their own like torque sequence about which ones to start with, or what one you're doing and all that, but you want to have all the timing and all that stuff, gears and all that stuff on here first. And so right now what we've got is we've got the keyway right here is at about the 11 o'clock position. That's what the service manual says. And we've got the number one cylinder, which this is number one. The way this engine is, it's backwards from the way Ford used to do it. But we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 5, 6, 7, 8 on that side. So number one, the piston is all the way up at the top. Now when I set it that way, with making sure that number one piston was all the way up top at the power stroke, which is basically exactly the way this camshaft right here, because it doesn't matter now. I can move the crankshaft all I want to, as long as that piston is up at top dead center. This isn't going to move because there's no chain on it. But now that it will, you can see the timing mark right there, and it's going to be in about that position. I'm going to show you a picture in just a second. And then we've got our chains, and somewhere on here they've got a different colored link. There's one right there, and then there's another one right here. Now, near as I could say, I stretched this chain out, these links are exactly opposite of each other. So I haven't seen anything, it didn't say anything in the service manual about the direction the chain goes, and I don't think it matters, but we'll figure that out, because we'll know if the timing marks line up. But I think they're being exactly apart. I'll show you that here. Okay, so you can see how you got it all the way stretched out, and your colored links are exactly apart, so it should not matter which way this chain goes. But it's really, I don't think you could put it on. I guess you'd be putting it on backwards like this or something. I guess there's just no other way to really get it, so wouldn't worry about that. But just sometimes some vehicles, it's just that way. These are the tensioners. There is a right and a left. You can see these ones are brand new. It's got this pin already in here, but you can see the plunger that actually, if you were reusing these, you can take these and put them in a vise and then stick a pin down in that hole right there until it locks in. There's your left side. When they're talking about right and left, we're always talking about this being the right side of the engine if you were sitting behind it. That's just how they do it. So that's the left side of the engine, that's the right side of the engine. And so yeah, let's go have a look-see at the pictures in the service manual, and we'll hold on a sec. Let me we're not replacing the cam phaser sprockets. We didn't get any new of those, but that gear right there, it comes off. Okay, it comes off here, but it slides over the top. Here's like a Woodruff key for your harmonic balancer, but it just slides right off of here. And here's your bottom timing mark right there. So you're gonna have this, if you're looking at this, at the crankshaft, You know, this would be your 12 o'clock or midnight position, and they want it over here at about the 11 o'clock position, you know, because then there would be 10, and over here would be 9. Simple as that. I don't know, can people even tell time on a regular clock like that anymore? The younger generation anyways? I don't know. So, got the new gear, so it'll go on both ways, but you just want to make sure you got that on towards the outside so you can see it, because you don't want to be putting it on backwards. That's not going to do you any good. Alright, so this is what they're talking about with one of those colored links and how the timing mark goes right in the center. The service manual and some other area I did see did have some chains that you might run across that'll have 2 colored links together right here. You just put the timing mark in between both of them. So imagine if this one was a colored one also, you do that. So and then I went ahead and I put a paint marker and I marked this little dimple right here, just because as you can see it you're gonna kind of have to get it on there and you know, get it started, because it's going to be kind of away from the chain's going to want to fall away from here, especially when it's loose. And so, and you do want to start with the left side, the driver's side chain, because that one goes on the sprocket first, and then you'll want to do your passenger side chain. But they are talking about, you know, getting this chain on here and then getting this guide on here. I think this guide doesn't have a bolt in it. It just goes on there, that pivot point right there, and then your tensioner pushes onto it there. So yeah, they're wanting to put that on now, and then go ahead and put the tensioner on there. Don't pull your pin, it doesn't show the pin on there. You know, and then it's tighten the they actually even got a 2-stage deal for tightening up these bolts and all that kind of stuff. 89 inch-pounds and then another 45 degrees. So then you go ahead and you put your bottom guide in here. Now this does have a bolt, but it does have a pivot point down here. So here's your upper guide, and there's your lower guide. So it'll go on second on that chain. Then go ahead and put your passenger side chain on and get it lined up with your dimple here, and then up top of the engine here you're going to line it up like this. Again, if you have 2 colored links on your chain, you just go in between those 2 colored links. So there's that. And then you go ahead and put your lower guide in here. So get this lower guide in here, and then go ahead and put your tensioner in. Don't pull the pin yet, and get all that stuff lined up. And then next thing to do is get your upper guide in here, and it's held on with a bolt. Goes down to a pivot point down the bottom here and has a bolt. That other guide that we just looked at there does not have a bolt. And so this is essentially what your timing marks look like. You know, this first looked at me kind of confusing. It's no more simpler than the fact that they didn't draw the rest of the chain. If I had a pin that worked, you know, not a huge deal, but whatever. But you can see, you know, passenger side, driver's side, timing mark where it's at. There's not really any relative to where it is to the head. You're putting it on, you're putting these, and you're doing this first. You want to get this lined up first, and then you want to get this tooth lined up, because this is getting timed to that. You don't want to be, you know, there's no position to put this on here. But the timing chain's loose enough that, you know, you can get it on and off there, keeping these sprockets on there, which is nice, you know. And so then we'll go in later on about torquing and tightening down the rocker arms and stuff. So anyways, that's the procedure we're going to be using. I'm not going to film it exactly step by step, but I will you know, pause and restart when I can. So well, like I said, I'd stop along the way. You get it down in here, you'd think that these would be easy to see, but unless you're like perfect lighting and everything, and this ain't that bad, but it is kind of a shadow down in there, but they're hard to see. So I went ahead and, you know, marked this across here, like that's the little dimple there, and you'll be able to see it through the chain. And then so this will just slide on here all the way to the back. Then you grab the chain and just get it started. And I'm just kind of moving it with my hand right there until it settles in where it's timed at. So yeah, I guess you're not gonna be able to see the tooth through the gear. It's not that style of chain. And then I'm gonna keep it tight as I go up or around, because this part of the chain, let's see, this left part of the chain here needs to go on this side of that pin. So don't do this. That's not how it goes. It's got to go on the other side of it. Try and do the best I can with only just two hands. I don't have a way to put this camera down in here, but okay, hopefully I got a little bit better shot from underneath here of how this, you know, like you can see when I hands out of the way, there we go, how that goes up and lines up with that. That's what you want. So now we know, because see how it just wants to drape down. You can kind of push it like this, get it a little bit better, but it's just not quite there. I don't know why they couldn't have put that timing mark up here. You know, that would have made more sense, but whatever. And then our other one up there, you know, I did mark this because like I said, it's hard to see, get it down here, but okay. Then obviously make sure that you get this timing mark lined up. You know, when we were pushing on this, yeah, this wheel moves and stuff, but that doesn't matter because we're timed so that when that deal presses it, that's where this deal is going to put it, and that's really why there's no timing marks here. So the next thing we need to do is I think it said to do this upper one right here, this upper guide, and get it on there, and then we'll get the other one, because the other one's going to go, lower one's going to go on this pin here, and then it's going to bolt up, I think, with a bolt right there. This top one's going to go here, and then it's just going to go, you know, right in here, and then your tensioner is going to go, and then it's going to push in this way. That's what it's going to do. Okay, see how that goes, and our tensioner is going to push in just like that. So we're going to get it bolted up right here, and then we'll put the lower one in place there, and we're still not going to pull the pin until we get both sides done and ready and get everything checked, because it's you know, even like when I could see it up here when I did this, I'm like kind of, yeah, I think so. I still went ahead and went underneath here and looked. It's never a bad thing to be checking yourself over and over again, because this is not something you want to screw up, because if you do, like the repair that we just did, you'll be doing that again, or worse. You can, you know, totally destroy the engine. But anyways, okay, there's that on. You see this is still loose. We're not going to pull the pin, and we're going to get the lower one, and we're going to get it, you know, we just kind of come in here and push up on this as you're kind of guiding it onto that pin there, and then get it lined up there and put your bolt in there. Because, you know, like one thing I did to make this just a lot easier, since it's the first time I'm doing one of these engines, was, you know, I took like that guide and this guide came out of the driver's side. I kept it separate, so that now all I have to do is, this is the old one, I just got to go in here, find the one that fits, because I'm sure these are all different, so they're not gonna interchange, because these don't say, as far as I'm aware, they don't say which side to go on. But anyways, you can see that this is the side we need, you know, and obviously the chain runs along on this side, so you'll know what track it runs on. So, and there we are. So not quite as, it's a little bit loose, but it's not, it's perfect. That's what we want. So then we just double check. I mean, obviously, you know, but like I said, it's never a bad thing to make sure that things look, you know, you can kind of move this around a little bit, you know, but always never a bad idea to check it. Just because, as I mentioned before, this is not something you want to screw up on. So that side's ready to go. Now we'll just go ahead and get the other side in. Alright, I got that one on there. And when you get this chain on here, I don't know if you remember when you were a kid, you put your bike chain and you start it and you had to just kind of walk it on a little bit. That, you know, that's kind of what you got to do. And so I had this thing off like 2 teeth, you know, and so I just had to peel it back, rotate it around some more, and just walk it right back on again. But we got the timing mark lined up there, and then we got it lined up there. And then, so now the next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna get the bottom track, and then it's gonna go right in here, and it does not have a bolt, so it's gonna just slip over this pin here, and then goes up here, and your tensioner pushes on it in an upward direction like that, and then we'll get the top one. But we'll get this bottom one on first. Okay, just got it started on that pin underneath the chain, and it's gonna push up on here like this. Put our tensioner, you know, there's our 2 bolts for the tensioner, and that will push up on that like that. Put that on next. Yeah, tensioner's in. Now one thing, you see how this thing kind of wants to push this way, and it's not quite totally straight on the deal here. So if I grab this finger here and I pull it and push it down, now it's lined up perfectly. And let me show you what I was just talking about. Okay, you see on the back side of it, see where this plunger on the, you know, the old one here, where it used to ride. So before we had it offset like this, and then when I repositioned it, we moved it to where now it fits down in here. So see how it fits in that slot there. That's what you want. So just wanted to watch that, because when I looked at it, I'm like, oh shit, yeah, that's, I just gotta move that thing out. So when you pull your pin and everything like that, make sure that's all lined up, you know, both of them, make sure that's like that. That way you don't get any problems. So now we'll get top runner on there. Okay, so last chance to check everything. We got this top runner on here, and last time to check it, make sure everything lines up good, make sure your, you know, deal's pushed in all the way. But it really can't, I mean, it's obviously not going to come out of tooth, but you just want to double check, make sure everything's good. Yeah. Okay, so now we're gonna go ahead and pull the clips off. I missed this step. Apparently in the service manual, when you get done with this left side timing chain, you can go ahead and pull this pin before starting on the right side. I don't know if it really makes that huge of a difference, but we're gonna pull it out now. So you see now it's pushed a little bit, actually pushed quite a bit. It's tight. So Yeah, then we'll go ahead and make sure our deal is where it needs to be. Got that one pulled out. Everything seems nice and straight. So next is the rocker arms. It doesn't do you a whole lot of good right now to spin the engine because every valve is going to be closed. But you will want, after getting the rockers on, you will want to roll this engine over without spark plugs in it by hand to make sure everything's is free and everything like that, and make sure you didn't do something wrong. But right now it wouldn't do you any good because yeah, it's going to roll around, but you are not gonna. Every valve is closed, so you're not gonna have any, definitely not gonna have no interference if all of them were closed. So anyways, let's get the rockers and we'll talk about those. Okay, so now we're gonna get these rocker arms installed on here. So let's go through, we'll kind of go through what the manual talks about and see what needs to be done. Okay, so on here there is a torque sequence, 1, 2, 3, 4, back here to 5, wherever 6, 7, you can see it. This is for the left hand. This is a Mitchell. This is where you can get this, pay $20 and get this manual. It'd save your life and being able to. I wrote these down because it talks about tightening each one of these in stages. So you're going to go 89 inch-pounds, 1, 2, 3, all the way to the last one, and then you're going to do the 177 inch-pounds. Same thing, 1, 2, 3, all the way to the last one, and then an additional 60 degrees. So 60 degrees, 1, 2. Excuse me. That's what we got there. So. I know this starts with 17, but because that's what we were doing, because you got 15 and 16, removing the, that's the steps we were just getting done here with the timing. So we got it this here, rotate the engine clockwise until the number 1 cylinder camshaft intake lobe is positioned so that the valve would be fully opened. And then so we'll go over that, and then position the left-hand intake rocker arm assembly and install the bolts finger tight. And then we're going to go and we're going to tighten, these in these stages in this sequence right here, because we're talking about the left-hand intake rocker. So let's go on the engine. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the bolt back in right here that would go in there for that harmonic balancer, and these are your intake valves on this side, same with intake valves on this side, so the other ones are the exhaust. So this would be your intake lobe, so you'd want to rotate this, since you don't have a rocker arm on here, you're just gonna have to rotate the lobe about where you would think that it's gonna be, because this is cylinder number 1 is what they're talking about. So you rotate this until this valve you would think would be fully open, so obviously the lobe is clear over here, and you want to rotate it in a clockwise, so you don't want to rotate it backwards. I mean, I guess, but it just do what it says. Rotate it clockwise till this lobe comes up and is going to be right about there, and that's going to be pretty close. And then go ahead and set the left-hand intake rocker and set it on here and get the bolts in there finger tight. And it's telling you to do this position because the valves are going to be in a position such that it's probably going to be easier to get this rocker arm on here. We'll figure that out as we go. So anyways, let's and this should be real easy to turn, because if you don't have any spark plugs in the holes. So we've got the lower spark plugs are in. But you remember when you saw on the head, both those spark plugs go into the hole. So one of them out, you know, you're not gonna have no compression. So that's the best way to do it. Okay, so we got this cylinder number 1, this cam lobe positioned up. Did that first, and then now I've got this thing set down on here and all finger tight. That's why it wants you in that position, because none of these rockers are trying to open any of these valves, so that when you go to tighten this down, you're not having it crooked and having to be trying to push down a valve, which it's like that on some heads. But anyways, this one they're just figured that this position right here works good for that. And so then the next step here is to tighten these up in those 3 stages that we talked about before. So I'll go ahead and get that done. All right, that one is torqued now, so let's move on to the next step. All right, we are here, step 21. You know, like when you're on this with the computer and stuff, you see something like this, it's highlighted. This will take you to this picture right here. So we're done with this picture, because now we're going to be looking for the left-hand exhaust valve. This is the torque sequence for it. Same stage of tightness. So now what we're going to do is rotate the engine clockwise until the number 1 cylinder camshaft exhaust lobe is positioned so that the exhaust valve would now be fully open. Last time we did it with the intake, now we're going to do it with the exhaust valve. And so then you'll position the left-hand exhaust rocker arm shaft assembly and install the bolts finger tight, and then do this same stage. That's what we're going to be doing. All right, so there's your exhaust cam lobe. We rotated the engine clockwise until that lobe came up, you know, because these rockers are pretty much riding exactly in the center here of where the rollers on the rocker here on the lobes of the camshaft, right about the center there. You know, and anytime while you're turning this is 22 millimeter, by the way, anytime while you're rolling this engine around, you know, and obviously when I rolled it around, some of these valves operated, you know, you want to just roll it around, but you want to be checking for any binding or, you know, stuff like that, because that'll indicate that you've got something going on that you don't want. So anyways, now we've got get these things, get them down, you know, just finger tight, and then torque them up, and then we'll move on to the next step. Okay, so that's all torqued up. Let's move on to the next step. Okay, step 24 right here. I'm going to rotate the engine clockwise until the number 1 cylinder camshaft intake lobe is positioned so that the intake valve would be fully closed. Okay, so there is the intake lobe, and obviously we left it with the exhaust one up. So right now, this is anywhere in this position. This one will be, you know, that valve will be fully closed because the rocker won't be pushing the valve open. So we're just going to leave the engine where it is right now. Okay, so now we're going to position the right hand intake rocker arm shaft assembly and install the bolts finger tight. Then after that, we'll torque them up. Then we'll go on to the next step. Okay, so when I put this thing on in place here, you know, this side was all cocked up, you know, about that far, because some of these lobes over here were, you know, where the valve would be in the open position. So what I did was I just rotated the engine around a little bit. This camshaft lobe that we're talking about right here did pass through and lift this up, but I found a good position to where, you know, because none of these are finger tight, and this is just sitting on here. But now this is pretty much sitting all level like that, and it's just easier that way to get this thing started on here rather than, you know, trying to push a valve open and all that kind of stuff. So found a good spot where it's pretty much all sitting down, you know, and we're talking about where this mates up right here. So anyways, yeah, so now we're just got to get these things you know, in finger tight, and then torque them up, and then we should be good to go with doing the next step. All right, so now Gonna rotate the engine clockwise again until the number 1 cylinder camshaft exhaust lobe is so that the exhaust valve would be fully closed. We're kind of gonna have to do the same thing because right now I don't know if this position of this is going to work or not. We've got, from what I can see, most of the lobes look like they're down, so with the exception of this one right here, but it might be okay, but everything else is. So now we're just going to go ahead and set down this exhaust rocker and do the same thing and get it torqued up. And if we have to, if I can rotate the engine a little bit and find a better position for it to sit down on, that's just all the better while tightening it. So if not, then you have to just kind of still be careful with, you know, setting it down there and torquing these bolts a little bit at a time, different ones, and you might even have to go out of order and all that kind of stuff just to get it to where it will help seat it down. But you'll start seeing it sitting in place. But I think right now I'm gonna go ahead and set it on there. I think it should be good. All right, so we got that all on there. Rotated the engine around a number of times just to, you know, make sure I can, you know, nothing's binding or anything like that. I can feel compression, you know, or hear it coming up out of the spark plug holes as I rotate it around, so that's good. So anyways, the next step here is getting the front cover and all that stuff put back on, and that'll be in another video. This is strictly just the timing video on that. So anyways, thanks for watching.